making a world of difference and setting yourself up for success. This is what I'm supposed to speak to you about today. But actually for that, I would need to speak with every single one of you. And I'd need to find out what your individual ideas of success are. Netflix recently brought out a 4-part docu-series with Barack Obama. It's called Working: What We Do All Day. And it's divided into 4 episodes. One on service jobs, one on the middle, one on dream jobs, and one called The Boss. One of the points Barack Obama makes is about our perception of success. He points out that to our parents, grandparents, great-grandparents' generations, success was being able to have a solid roof over your head, a small house, perhaps a car, being able to send your kids to school and feed them, the basics. If you look at it in terms of social psychology, the easiest way to explain it is through Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The American psychologist Abraham Maslow is well known for his hierarchy of needs, which is a pyramid with our most basic needs for food, water, air, rest at the bottom, followed by the need for security and stability, and then at the next level, love and belonging. The top 2 levels are then dedicated to esteem, so feeling like you're important, having the recognition of your peers, having power, etc. And at the very top, Maslow places self-actualization. Previous generations contented themselves with the bottom levels of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But as Obama explains in his docu-series, we started to aim higher. Obama talks about how, for example, in the 60s and 70s, TV shows all centered around ordinary people and their daily struggles, their daily joys, their everyday relationships, and their little lives. But in the 80s, TV shows started to focus on the rich, the powerful, the elite. 2 of the most popular shows were Dallas and Dynasty, and everybody was a millionaire. Nowadays, shows like Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, or The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, or Selling the OC are very popular. The point is that we no longer measure ourselves against a middle class, but feel the need to reach higher. We no longer just want food, water, air, rest, followed by security and stability, a little love and affection and belonging. But to quote the Counting Crows, we all want to be big stars. In order for us in this day and age to feel successful, we feel the need to have achieved power, money, and social standing. And the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, self-actualization. I mean, this is basically nirvana, and this is what we want. We want to know the meaning of our life on earth. We want to have made a difference. We want to be a special part of the universe, and we want to leave behind a legacy. My family moved to the US in the 80s, just in time for me to be influenced by these wonderful shows that Obama talks about. My father was the National Olympic weightlifting coach to Romania, but both of my parents are Hungarian. My father had political problems. He was a national coach to Romania as a Hungarian minority. And at the time that my father and my mother were born, this part of Romania, which is called Transylvania or Erdély, still belonged to Hungary. So my father always spoke out very strongly for his Hungarian heritage, for possible autonomy or independence for Transylvania, and he encouraged and supported his Hungarian athletes as much as the Romanian ones. He even accepted to train religious athletes at a time when under communism certain religious practices were tolerated but not encouraged, and a national coach was expected to refuse to train a Baptist athlete, for example. My father had a radio show, wrote a column in the newspaper, and he was always very vocal about his opinions. So at some point, it became dangerous for him to remain in the country, so he defected during a competition that was organized in Baden-Baden. I was 10 at the time. I would not see him again until I was 12 and a half. After 2.5 years of my mother being questioned, our house being under surveillance and searched multiple times in the middle of the night, we were finally allowed to join my father in the US, which is where he was granted political asylum. We first moved to Bryan College Station in Texas, where my dad coached at Texas A&M University, and then we moved to Kansas. From the time I moved to the US, TV shows influenced my upbringing. The commercials taught me that the best meal was a burger, and that you should always eat out, that you should really pay a lot of attention to your hair, and that you should try to marry a man like Bobby Ewing or Blake Carrington. Except I was not a normal American girl. I wasn't even a normal Hungarian girl. I was a Hungarian girl born in Romania, being raised in the US. So I didn't get to eat many burgers. My mom cooked soups and made csirkepaprikás and szilvás gombóc, and she made my friends eat toast with garlic rubbed on it. My hair was cut short by my mother, and I was told I would marry a nice Hungarian boy, not an American millionaire. My path towards success was laid out by my parents. Even though they really struggled financially, they sent me to a private school and paid the fees from the beginning. It did come with a price. "You will make us proud," they would say. And maybe I should mention that I'm an only child, so it was all up to me to make them proud. I now understand that my parents were in an existential crisis. Basic needs, food, water, sleep, security, stability, belonging, were not something they could take for granted. I watched them struggle and work hard, and so I did as I was told. At a very early age, already in Romania, I showed an inclination toward and a talent for acting, writing, speaking, and I guess languages. In the US, these talents manifested themselves despite my shyness and insecurity with the English language. I felt that I was meant to somehow work for the theater, be it as a playwright, as an actress, a director. I knew I was meant to do something creative and artistic. But I was thinking about my self-actualization. My parents, on the other hand, were there to remind me that the bottom of the pyramid, with the basic needs, was not complete and could not support the summit. So I started taking university level classes at the junior college near us when I was 15 years old. And quickly I completed degrees in pre-med, so what you call in Germany, Medizinstudium bis zum Klinikum, and a 5-year degree in human biology. Don't think that I did this in a docile, nice little girl manner. I kicked and screamed. I threatened to move to New York to pursue an acting career. I said mean, hurtful things to my parents, and I was not exactly happy about being forced into studying what I neither had the inclination nor, let's be honest, the particular intellectual talent for. The sciences, chemistry, physics, even biology as it relates to the plant and animal world did not come easily to me. To make it through, I had to rely on my strong math skills, my ability to memorize, and my genuine interest in the human body. The anatomy, the dissection, the kinesiology, these parts I liked, that I was into. So I somehow finished my degrees, and my mother and father to this day proudly display my diplomas in their house. The pressure I felt to make my parents' immigration worthwhile was certainly difficult to deal with. It felt restraining and limiting. At the same time, it also filled me with a sense of purpose, and it motivated me. So many young people I meet nowadays seem lost in a sea of opportunities and choices presented to them. Feeling pressure to go after your dreams or to even identify what your dreams are is also real. Today, the pressure on young people growing up in rich, developed countries is, in my opinion, to reach some sort of self-actualization as soon as possible. And I don't think that's any less difficult than the pressure I had growing up. But life is meant to be embraced, I think, with its pressures and difficulties, and all the wonders it brings as well. How to go after your dreams and still honor your parents' wishes? I don't think there's a formula. You just have to walk the line and try your best. Or to put it in the words of Princess Anna from Frozen, you are lost, hope is gone, but you must go on and do the next right thing. Take a step, step again. It's all that you can do, the next right thing. Or if you prefer, perhaps the wise snowman Olaf says it even better. This will all make sense when you're older. Coming out of high school, and even after having finished my human biology degree, I had no skills. My parents did not allow me to work in high school because I was expected to focus on academics and athletics. And there was no time for anything else. So I had no money of my own and no actual skills. And all of a sudden, Maslow's hierarchy of needs started to make sense. I could not provide for my own food and shelter, and I could certainly not finance an education in the US on my own. So my financial independence became something that I urgently wanted to accomplish. In the process, I forgot, perhaps I had to forget, all about self-actualization, about my soul's needs, about my dreams. I started to waitress on the weekends and I started to tutor French. What I didn't tell you is that I did make a deal with my parents. If I did as I was told and finished all these degrees in only 3 years, in the summers they would send me to France to study, and they would allow me, within the same 3 years, they would allow me to also complete a degree in French. Why would I do this, you might ask? It meant taking 25, 26 credits a semester instead of the usual 13, 14 credits. And it meant studying even in the summers. But I saw a window of opportunity through a degree in French. I already spoke French quite well, and languages have always come easily to me. So I worked hard to impress my professors, and when I completed my BA in French, I was offered a GTA-ship, a graduate teaching assistantship. In other words, I would make a small monthly salary that would allow me to have a small apartment and pay for food and water and the basics, and the university would allow me to complete a master's degree in French literature without having to pay tuition, right? But you might say I was still not really in the fast lane towards self-actualization, and you would be correct in saying that. But again, do dreams have to come true so fast? Is there a deadline on when we achieve what? And isn't it a problem, actually, if we achieve too much, too fast? Was it all a waste of time, completing degrees, studying, working hard? No, of course not. Those years had space for other things as well. I fell in love more than once. I learned to cook for myself, to clean my own apartment, to wash my own clothes. I made friendships and fought with friends and experienced disappointments. I also partied a lot. To give you an example, I had a 5-hour organic chemistry lab on Saturday mornings. Almost every week, I went to this Saturday morning organic chemistry lab straight from a Friday night party. I spent the first half hour steaming my face with Water I boiled on a Bunsen burner, and then I bribed fellow students with various food items, muffins, sandwiches, cakes, to do the experiments for me. You see, the range of practical skills I learned at the university went beyond the mere academic. Had I left for New York to become an actress, or for Hollywood to be a movie director, or for Paris to become a famous writer, I could have been a star. I could have had a lifestyle more beautiful, more exciting. I could have been richer than anything I had seen on TV while I was growing up. But I have not regretted anything I have studied. It is a luxury to be able to spend time learning and reading. Yes, I waitressed on weekends, but it was maybe a little like the way Marie Antoinette retreated to her Hameau de la Reine at Versailles, where she enjoyed the more bucolique or rustic scenery and simple farmhouses. To get away from the academic scene, I waitressed, and it was fun for me. It was cool. I was pretending to be doing back-breaking work, but it was for pocket money, and I didn't have to support a family from it. It would be an absolute injustice to the universe for me to complain about how I had to study medicine and human biology and French. Each and every one of these degrees has come in handy. Because of my understanding of how the human body works, what the different muscle groups are, the bones, the needs of the different organs, I was able to complete certificates to teach different sports very easily. Waitressing for extra money was replaced by teaching aerobics and kickboxing. For 13 years, I would end up teaching sports on the side, next to studying and teaching at the university. I also taught kids French and creative writing at the local elementary schools. I came into contact with a wide range of people and in small ways made a difference in their lives. I'm still in touch with two of the little kids I taught French. They have grown up to become incredibly successful, wonderful women, and I follow their career and the delights of their personal lives with great pride. Somehow I was there before they were completely formed, and I got to contribute a little. And so life went on. When I started a PhD in French literature, I was in a position where I could slowly work towards what I actually wanted to do with my life. My doctoral dissertation focused on the sociological effects of theater on the community, and I got to spend 7 summers researching, interviewing, and exploring the theater scene in Avignon at the Festival du Théâtre d'Avignon. I met brilliant playwrights, actors, and theater directors. I saw hundreds of plays. I spoke to audiences from around the world. I interviewed people from Avignon about how they felt about the festival taking place in their city. So I myself was not creating. It was not my plays that were being put on. I was not on stage in the lights, the focus of attention. But I had managed to wiggle myself into a world of creativity and theater and literature. But like I said, life goes on, and I fell in love with a German man and moved to Hamburg. And again, self-actualization had to be put on a back burner, somewhere at the back of the shelf. Because all of a sudden, I had to learn German. And no one cared that I had a PhD in French literature. No one wanted to hire me. But people did care that I could teach sports. So I coached at the Meridian, at the Kaifu Lodge, at the Ladies Fitness Center. I was everywhere. And I spoke 6 languages, so I could also teach at companies. But again, don't imagine that it was easy. To get my first job, I wrote down on a piece of paper, Guten Tag, mein Name ist Henriette Javorek. At the time I was still Javorek and not yet Runte. Sprechen Sie English? And if they said yes, then I would say, oh, thank goodness, okay, so here's the thing, this is what I'm looking for. I would explain to them why I had called. But if they said no, then I took out another piece of paper and I started reading off of it in German as best as I could. It wasn't pretty, but somehow I got the first job. Then I got recommended and slowly I could kind of manage. But I was spending 12 to 14 hours a day away from home, going from one job to the next. I ate in the bus in secret. I was on the move from 6 a.m. to about 9 p.m. every day. And there were other problems as well. Remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Well, I didn't have stability and love, well, the love of one man, but I didn't have any friends. My parents were far away. I didn't belong. So there were many areas that needed tending to. But again, life goes on and things develop. I got married, we bought a house, we got a dog. And then I somehow got my foot in the door at several universities. And one of the things that helped the most was that I had a degree in human biology and had studied medicine because I could teach medical students English. And that's how I actually ended up at the University of Hamburg. Okay, so let me fast forward. I am now the incredibly proud mom of 3 beautiful and wonderful children. I am happily married. I am the academic head of modern languages at the University of Hamburg. And I definitely feel like I have food, air, water, sleep, stability, security, love, esteem, belonging. But where is self-actualization? After the birth of our 3rd child, I got really sick. I had over 38 degrees fever for 5 months, night sweats, loss of appetite. I went from doctor to doctor and nobody really knew what was wrong with me. When I was finally diagnosed with cancer, it was almost a relief because I could finally do something about it. I was very lucky. I had a very small papillary carcinoma, a tumor in my thyroid that could easily be operated. What was perhaps most traumatic for me was that I lost my voice for several months after the operation. Now you think that you're making tough decisions and life is confusing and difficult at your age. Well, try being a middle-aged woman after cancer. I could not be patient anymore. I could not wait to strive for self-actualization. So that's when I created Culture Ream. I used all the skills that I had acquired through my studies to create a podcast called Language and Culture with Dr. J. It brings out episodes about the various aspects of culture around the world, and it has episodes in English, French, German, Spanish, and Hungarian. The podcast has now had over 150,000 downloads, and it is listened to around the world. The last time I checked, the podcast was being listened to in 117 countries. The bulk of my listeners come from Germany and the US. But it is what I call self-actualization, to know that I am reaching people with my messages around the world, that I can contribute to educating people, to teaching them about how people live and work in various cultures, and to feel like I am building bridges, connecting the dots, and somehow working towards harmony, understanding, joint respect, and knowledge. I also started a cultural blog with articles from me and from guest authors, and I have published a series of books that I feel truly completes my quest for self-actualization. Remember how I told you that I had shown talent for writing and acting at an early age? Well, during the COVID pandemic, my father was cleaning out the attic and he stumbled upon a bunch of my writings. These were poems and novellas and things that I had written from when I was little onto high school and college, etc. And my dad had this epiphany. He felt that he needed to say, I am sorry. He wanted to explain to me why he and my mother couldn't support my artistic pursuits and why they insisted on having me study towards what they considered a more solid occupation. And then, in an effort to make up for it all, my father sat down and digitalized all of my writings and sent them on to me. Now, this was an incredible opportunity for me to rediscover the little girl and the young woman I once was. It was a chance to let these younger versions of myself resurface, along with the dreams and desires I had back then. I took my writings, edited them, finished them, made them more round and complete, and I created 5 very different pieces of literature that I then published under 5 different pseudonyms, because I am no longer the person who originally started these books, and because each book represents one distinct part of me, but not the entirety of the woman I am today. I am not one thing. Every aspect of my life that I have worked to achieve matters. My life is enriched by a range of people and activities. I contribute to the world as a mother, as a wife, as a daughter, as a friend, as a neighbor, as a decent human being, as a professor, as a podcast host, as a writer, etc. Living well, making a difference, being happy and successful, it is not one action or one decision. It's a whole package of stuff we do over a lifetime. Today, I feel at equilibrium with myself and the world. And that, to me, is self-actualization. In closing, my 13-year-old daughter told me, Mom, you can't just tell them about yourself and say some pretty things. You have to give them practical tips. That's what they want. So here are concrete answers to 5 questions. 1. How do you decide what to do for a living? You don't. Just do the best thing you can do and life will take care of the rest. But don't waste time. Pierre de Ronsard writes in his Ode à Cassandre, cueillez votre jeunesse. So suck the marrow out of being young. Use the energy you have. Take every lesson, every skill offered. Talk to people. Create a network. Do what you are doing right now the best you can. Finish what you start. And then listen to life's opportunities and grab them when you can. 2. How to have success. There's no such thing. We have successes every single day of our life. Don't be so arrogant as to limit what success is. To some, success is being able to get out of bed in the morning. To many, success is being alive. Set yourself up for a series of successes. Let yourself look forward to the next success. And when you fail, learn to be grateful for what you still have. 3. How to achieve balance. When you are young, you walk across a balance beam with ease. You hop over obstacles. You resist anything and anyone who wants to throw you off. But keep an eye on balance. As we grow older, it is strongly recommended that we train and focus on our physical balance. The same is true for spiritual balance, emotional balance, work-life balance, balance in relationships. But I believe you cannot know what balance even means to you if you're not willing to experience off balance in youth. So don't worry so much. Get to know yourself and work slowly towards balance. 4. How to be happy. And this is a big one. I believe that happiness has nothing to do with what we have or what we have achieved. Happiness is a state of mind, a decision of how to view life. My father often tells me the story of an old man he knew back in Romania who had been in the concentration camps in Auschwitz and survived by smiling every day. He told my father that smiling uses less muscles than crying or frowning, so it saves energy, especially in times of need. And finally, number 5, the practical answer to the question you are all supposed to be asking yourself right now. How do I make a difference? Ultimately, the potential to make a difference and to achieve success, self-fulfillment, self-actualization is within every person's reach. Whether we end up being a bus driver, a clerk, a teacher, a stay-at-home mom, a social worker, or we pursue a career in nuclear physics, neuroscience, politics, or whatever we decide to do, the potential to influence others and to make ourselves and our loved ones happy is the same. While it might take time for us to feel like we're on track, whatever we are doing right now matters, and it is the best we can contribute today. But even if we have achieved so-called success, or we feel established or important, the key is to continue developing as long as we live, and to maybe contribute through our legacy even thereafter. Thank you.